like to call the Winnacunnet School Board to order, please. And if we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tricia, you want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open a public hearing on the acceptance of a gift from the Hampton Academy trustees.
Yes?
Yep.
Did you want to speak to it at all? Or
So the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comments in regard to a gift that the Hampton Academy of Trustees has generously offered. The gift is the provision of equipment for Family and Consumer Science program, lamppost banners, iPads, and furniture for the Freshman Academy. And that totals $12,540. So thank you very much to the Hampton Academy trustees. And at this point, if there's any public comments, the board could entertain comments, and then the board will vote on accepting the gift later on in the agenda.
Okay. Is there any public comment on the gift, other than thanks? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing, if I can. All righty.
we consider it closed.
We'll consider it closed. There we go. That's it. Okay.
On to public comment.
So now we have public comment on any agenda items for this evening. Okay, that's easy.
So just
Yeah.
to note that public comment period under the law change has to remain open for 30 minutes. So if anyone arrives in the next half hour who wishes to speak, the board can pause. The board can go on with its business, but pause and then allow anyone to speak
Okay,
who may wish to address the board.
perfect. Thank you. Yeah,
Till
so
7:02.
7:30, yeah, it's 7:02.
6:32. Yep.
Yep, okay, perfect. Winnacunnet Pride.
That's
We
you.
have Grace.
Nope,
Just
just
consider
consider
it.
it.
Yep, good. Welcome, first off, welcome, Grace.
Welcome.
And just pull the mic a little bit closer to you. Yep.
Absolutely. So this week is Exeter Spirit Week, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from it. We have our first pep rally in over 3 years tomorrow, and kids seem to be really excited about it. We've had a lot of pushback. I think last year we tried to do a pep rally, and people really didn't seem to want to do it, but we got a lot of positive feedback on it. And then we've been doing a class competition that includes hall decorating and a food drive for New Hampshire Fights Hunger. And they finished that up today, so they are tallying the points tonight, and they'll announce it at the pep rally. And yep, all of our Exeter varsity sports are tomorrow and Friday, so everybody's looking forward to that as well, I think.
Great, thank you. Anything to add on that one? Okay, then we do the year-end summary of the budget committee. Matt?
Thank you. So this evening, the Winnacunnet Budget Committee convened for their first meeting of the year as we head into the budget process to present to the community this spring an operating budget and warrant articles at ballot the second week of March of 2023. So I do want to acknowledge the hard work that the Budget Committee members do every year, and that's Jennifer Torino, David Gant, Molly McCoy, who are joined by 2 new members, Jamie Marston and Rachel Turcott. So thank you to the Budget Committee, who will be reviewing the school board's proposed budget and then bringing it forth to the community. So every year we have an annual audit. So we have an independent outside firm, Plodzik and Sanderson, that reviews our financials, and we put together a year-end financial report. And we do have, that was conducted, they came on site in August, and we do have the preliminary results. So we encourage, or we try to present those year-end financials, preliminary financials, caveat there, to the board, and also invite the budget committee to listen in as we look at the previous year, and then we look forward to this current fiscal year, and then moving into the budget season for 2023-2024. So we did end the fiscal year 2022 year with an unreserved fund balance of $358,667. So that's the amount, when you look at our total expenditures in our budget that we did not expend, so available balance, plus any excess revenue. So we do receive revenue in the form of generous donations, such as tonight, and then we receive special education aid, Medicaid, reimbursement through the National School Lunch Program for free and reduced lunches, et cetera. So when you sum those totals, it comes up with a balance that is then at the end of the year is returned to the town, the member towns in this case, to offset tax assessments. So for the fiscal year 2022 year, the major contributors to that unreserved fund balance included our special education account, which went over budget by just over $320,000, so that reduced the balance. But on the flip side, what contributed to the balance was an unanticipated refund from Health Trust for our health insurance premiums of just over $212,000. So the last 2 years, actually, we've received refunds from our health insurance carrier, Health Trust, because it's a New Hampshire pool, so it's based on claim history, and through the pandemic, our employees were not going to the doctor, we're not getting procedures at the same rate as in prior years. So due to that, we were issued a refund for those premiums. Additionally, we received just over $145,000 in special education aid, more than expected, and that goes hand in hand with the additional special education costs that I had just mentioned. So at a certain threshold for our out-of-district placements for tuition, if we spend over a certain limit, then we're entitled to special education aid through the state. So even though we expended $320,000 more than we were anticipating, we received back almost $146,000. Our employee benefits ended the year under budget by almost $138,000. Additionally, our vocational education tuition was under budget by just under $84,000. And our regular education certified staff salaries were under budget by nearly $76,000. So those are, there are many accounts in the budget, but those are the primary drivers that resulted in that unreserved fund balance that we returned to the town. So that results in the offset to the towns. So Hampton will be receiving $165,860 of that total. Seabrook will be receiving $118,351. Northampton will be receiving $52,732, and Hampton Falls $21,724. In addition to the operating budget, we have warrant articles and expendable trusts. So we did have one expendable trust warrant article this past budget season, which was a contribution of $50,000 towards the healthcare expendable trust that did pass that ballot. But otherwise, we did not have any other expendable trusts because we've hit our targets. So, for example, we have a special education expendable trust, which the balance is $405,775, which coincides with our target of $400,000. And the purpose of that expendable trust is to safeguard us against unanticipated costs. So you just heard that we went over budget in special education by $328,000. Special education can be extremely volatile when we're, because it's based on student needs, and student needs change, and families move into the district, and when we're budgeting a year in advance, we can't always account for those families and those students, and those costs can be, for one out of district placement, can be upwards of $500,000 in a severe need. So if you have a few of those high ticket items, it can really affect the budget. So this expendable trust is a great way or a contingency safeguard to protect us in the event of those added costs. So similarly, we have a building maintenance expendable trust, which has a balance of $199,934, which is right in line with our target of $200,000. And again, very similar situation where should there be some catastrophic building issue that isn't covered by insurance, we have this safeguard in place to cover those costs. When we're talking about 300,000+ square feet of school space, and then I want to say 30-40 acres of grounds, those costs can be quite expensive. Our third and final expendable trust is the healthcare expendable trust. So this really serves as a dual purpose. So one is, again, to safeguard us in the event of health insurance changes. So we cannot, when we're budgeting a year in advance, we cannot predict if we're going to have a number of staff members get married and go on a 2-person plan, or have children and go on to a family plan. And you have a number of those situations, and those health insurance costs can really skyrocket. So again, that allows us the ability to tap that trust to cover those costs. But another purpose for the healthcare expendable trust, which has really been useful in budgeting in recent years, is we're able to hedge our health insurance line items. So when we're looking at budgeting for health insurance, we can see, hey, we have this number of employees with these health plans. It's going to be, say $500,000, but we get a guaranteed maximum rate in October. That's not the actual rate that we're gonna receive when they issue the premium notifications in March. So oftentimes there's a delta there, so it actually comes down lower. So what we can do is we can under budget our health insurance line item, reduce the budget, knowing that or hoping that we will recognize savings, through the change in health premiums. Or I had mentioned, election changes where the price goes up. Maybe we hire a teacher who's straight out of college, and single, and that person is replacing a family plan, and it's going to a single plan, so we save money. So those are all the rationale for those expendable trusts, which are incredibly important when we're looking at the budget going forward. I will note that we had a fourth expendable trust, a technology expendable trust, which was a number of years ago. The purpose was to purchase some specific computer equipment. However, we have since put in place a comprehensive technology plan with replacement cycles for all of our technology needs, for all of our Chromebooks, for our students, for our one-to-one initiative, our infrastructure needs. So that technology trust is no longer necessary. We had told the board and the budget committee last year that we would spend down the remaining $5,000, and then this year we will close that trust, and that will be a warrant article just stating or asking the public if they're okay with closing that trust, which typically is not a problem. So those are the expendable trust warrant articles. We also have warrant articles where you're raising and appropriating funds for capital projects. So we did have 3 projects that were approved at ballot this past March. That included the auditorium lighting project, which did pass for $80,000. That is phase 1 of 2 per the facilities plan. Actually, it's in the facilities plan and the capital improvement plan and the auditorium plan, because we have plans for everything. This is a 2-phased lighting upgrade approach. So we intend to bring forth a warrant article this budget cycle for the school board to consider. We also had a technology building roof replacement, which was $295,000. That was passed and was actually just completed, I want to say this week. And the athletic field lighting, LED lighting project, which was for the soccer field to replace the lighting there at $135,000. I will just step back again to the auditorium lighting. That was scheduled to occur this summer. However, due to supply chain issues, I've noted this at the last school board meeting, and nothing has changed. We are not anticipating to receive some of the core components until closer to like the December timeframe. So we hope to be able to finish it during holiday breaks, but unfortunately that has not been completed. Every year when we close the books, there's open purchase orders. There are contracts that have not been fulfilled. So we have carryover encumbrances. So I just want to note that from 2021, 2022 into this current year of 2022, 2023, there was $359,045 in carryover encumbrances. No bearing on this budget. It hit for all intents and purposes. It's in the fiscal year 22 financials. However, should for some reason we don't fully expend that $359,000, that will contribute to our unreserved fund balance when we're here next year. I'll also note that the school nutrition program ended the year with a surplus of $190,657, which is really there's a couple of reasons for that surplus. If you recall, I started here at SAU 21 in 2016, and at that point we were running a deficit of over $100,000 in food service. And we formed a food service committee, made a number of changes, and we quickly rectified that issue and went into the black. So we've been on track and actually running a profit for the last 5 years. However, this past year that was exasperated because you don't want to make too much money. You want to be as close to zero as possible, and there's actually there's regulations in place where you're not supposed to carry over 3 months of expenditures surplus. So But this past year was a little higher because of the pandemic relief, so lunches were free, and we were reimbursed at a higher rate, so we really got a good amount of revenue that we wouldn't normally receive in any given quote-unquote normal year. So I will note, well actually, that's noted in the audit control recommendations. So I will address that in one moment. So we had so as part of this audit process, the auditors, they could issue findings or recommendations for any changes for financial controls. So they had 2 recommendations for us. One was for our student activity account. We had a few checks that were deposited over a week later than the receipt. They want you to deposit any check that we receive for student activity funds within that week period. So we are working closely with the student activities treasurer to try to rectify that and get checks deposited in a more timely manner. That's a difficult one because there's vacations, there's holidays, there's sometimes it takes time sometimes to get from that student activity to the treasurer and then to the bank. So sometimes, unfortunately, there's just very little room for error there. However, we are emphasizing the importance of depositing checks as quickly as possible. So the second item or recommendation from Plodzik and Sanderson that relates to food service is that surplus. So we really shouldn't be having a fund balance in excess of 3 months average expenditures, and that $190,000 is beyond that threshold. So what we're doing is we're creating a plan to spend down that excess. So that's the solution, is we need to spend those funds. So we're working with the food service manager at Como to look at different investments that we can make into the program, whether it's equipment, whether it's different types of offerings, food offerings, etc. And we will certainly find a way to spend that money to get to a lower amount.
Matt, what would be 3 months, if you don't mind me interrupting, like roughly? What would be that 3-month amount?
I'm not certain off the top of my head. It's under 100,000.
Okay, thanks. I just didn't know if we were like way off or just a little off, but we seem to be a lot off.
We're pretty
off.
We're pretty far over.
Okay,
so,
thanks.
So it's a good problem to have. I'd much rather be over than under.
We can definitely spend it.
Right. So that concludes the year-end summary. Any questions about last year's financials before I move on to this current year? All right. With that being said, we always like to take a look at this current year and report back to the board, which I do on a monthly basis, but when we have the budget committee with us, report back any unanticipated expenditures. I've referenced special education a few times. Well, last year we were over budget by $320,000, and that coincides with this year because it stands to reason if we were over budget last year, after our budget process, well, some of those expenditures will continue into this year. So specifically out of district placements. So we are currently over budget in our tuition account by $328,611. So these were unanticipated out of district placements that occurred after our budget process, after the budget was approved. So we do anticipate that those costs are not stopping there. We anticipate that we will incur additional special education costs beyond that through this year. So that is something that we are closely monitoring. We have a new special director of student special services, Amy Therian, who just started this summer. She's doing a great job, and she's working with our new assistant superintendent of student services, Mary Toomey, to take a look at these budgetary items. So we are monitoring them. We will come back to the school board in the May timeframe to determine whether we need to make a withdrawal from the expendable trust. You know, it's a situation where if we can recognize savings elsewhere in the budget, or if we have excess revenue, then ideally we can absorb those costs. But luckily we do have these expendable trusts, so it's something that we will certainly discuss towards the end of the year and determine whether any withdrawal is warranted. That is the only, thankfully, big unanticipated cost for this current year. So I want to look forward to 2023, 2024 as we're starting the budget process this fall for next year. You know, we really want to ensure that that we're providing the funding and allocating resources that continues to enhance all of our academic programs in order to support our students and really continue to provide that personalized learning model that Winnacunnet, you know, is so incredible at providing, and really align with our Winnacunnet, you know, mission, our values, and core beliefs. So that will be tied into what we, as we look into the budget. We're always trying to align our goals and how we are, you know, what new initiatives we're looking at, what we're looking to achieve with budgetary items. We do start that process. You know, the school is looking at those budget items, you know, towards the end of the summer into this time period, and we really try to take a zero-based approach, budgeting approach. So that's where we're not looking at last year and just, you know, adding a percentage, right? We're looking at, hey, what do we need in funding in order to accomplish a certain goal? There are, of course, I mean, in school budgets, there are absolutely static accounts where, you know, we need, you know, it's just, you know, there's our electricity accounts, our heating fuel, where it's like, it's just, you know, we're just continuing those expenditures. But when we're looking at our various programs and new initiatives, it's important to kind of break it down and determine at that base level what is necessary to achieve those goals. So, and that's why we have those aforementioned plans as well. So we have a number of, you know, long-term plans that are incorporated in the budget, whether that's our technology plan, our capital improvement plan, our auditorium plan. We have, you know, where we have a competency-based education plan. Winnacunnet is certainly further along with CBE than our K-8 schools, but that is part of all of our budgets. So as we look forward to next year, we have the operating budget, and then we have our warrant articles. Our warrant articles, I had alluded to the auditorium lighting. So we have year 2 of that upgrade. Per our CIP, we also have our HVAC replacement plan. So that's a 20-year plan. As again, this is a huge building, so that smooths out costs over the long run. So we typically have a HVAC replacement in every fiscal year. So that's estimated at $125,000. Our auditorium lighting is $160,000, and then we have the second phase of the LED outdoor lighting upgrade, which is alumni field for this year, which will complete that initiative as well. That's $180,000. We will go out to RFP and get locked in numbers, and we are planning to propose those particular projects for the school board's consideration as we go through the budget process. So that is it for budget and finance. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know I've rambled on long enough, but this is very important.
Right?
I thought it was very thorough.
It is very
It's
thorough.
very helpful.
No, it is
I have
helpful.
to say, I have been voting for HVAC,
Mm.
I feel like
Forever.
forever. And I just learned tonight about the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that is worth sort of, a part of our presentation when we talk about the budget is explain to the taxpayers what that is about. I thought, my gosh.
Well,
But it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so so I'll have a dedicated slide to if we have an HVAC warrant article.
Sure.
And I will absolutely reference the 20-year replacement cycle, and I'll also note that particular plan was a huge benefit to Winnacunnet as we went through the pandemic,
Sure.
because we are in really good shape when it comes to air quality and our ability to move air and filter air here at Winnacunnet, because we had that replacement cycle in place. Whereas you saw some schools where we're talking multi-million-dollar upgrades just to be able to get in the door. So.
Thank you, Matt. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up is our Freshman Academy presentation. Bill?
So, good evening. So, we recognize that as students transition to high school from middle school, some students have difficulty transitioning. Last year, with the return to students last year, after being remote for a year and a half, we clearly saw the gaps that this had posed for some of our students. So we met this past spring to say, okay, how can we help some of these students that we know are going to struggle transitioning to the school, that are not connected to school at all? So we created the Freshman Academy, which is now renamed the STEM and Humanities program, because those are the two focus areas, which is a cohort of about 22 students with 4 teachers, and they spend half the day together with those teachers and the same students. And what we found after the first 4 weeks, we've had positive feedback from families saying that this is the first time their child has actually wanted to come to school. We had one student talk to the guidance counselor this week and said, are we going to have this program next year? So clearly we're having a positive impact. I do have Madeline Mullen, a teacher in the program, here tonight. She'll talk about it. Amy Hood, who is the freshman administrator. We'll talk about some of the attendance issues that we've seen, or the positive attendance issues we've seen. And also Lauren Marston, the curriculum director, to answer any questions. But overall, it's been a positive success. They've integrated several field trips. They did go to the beach last week. Superintendent Nadeau had attended that, so she can speak to that. But overall, it seems to be having a positive experience. As we continue with this, we'll bring more results back to you. And if we need to scale this up as we go into next year and the next steps, that's something we'll take a look into. But I do know that the teachers are spending a lot of time, and sometimes I need to remind them that, just remember classroom management and things like that. But overall, it's been a very positive experience for the students. And I think, and the teachers, and the teachers are seeing these comments, so it's a rewarding process for them. So, who is leading the?
Thanks, Bill. So, like he said, we're just here to kind of give a update as to how the new program that is going. We appreciate your support in helping us get this off the ground. As Bill said, we are calling it the Freshman STEM and Humanities courses to really help them integrate into the school. So Miss Maddie Mellon here teaches in the humanities part, and she's here just to help share sort of a little bit of the experience from the class.
Hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight to talk with you all about something that we've been so passionate about for so long now, which is how do we make our students not just have academic success, but show up to school happy to be here, feeling cherished and respected and seen by their peers in the classroom. So when Superintendent Nadeau came to us with this amazing idea, we were really stoked to see how it would impact our students and make them want to be in the classroom, which not just be there, but be happy there, which is so important to us. And we've really seen that happen with our students. We all know from COVID, Grace, I'm sure you can speak to your experience on the computer virtual learning. It's just not the same when our students don't have each other to connect with. We know that social motivation, the relationships they form with their peers, is the #1 motivator for academic success. So, and again, that's not even the most important thing, which is their well-being and happiness in the classroom, but we've seen them form connections with each other. It's just so excited to talk. Form connections with each other and really build a community of liveliness and energy about learning, which has just been really amazing to see. And they get to travel with each other blocks 1 through 4. With Mr. Riley and myself, we teach humanities, and we've really been exploring how do we weave together the content of English and social studies. So Mr. Riley just taught them about 4 geographical landmarks, and now tomorrow they're going to create short stories set in those geographical landmarks. So things like that, where how do we weave this curriculum together? And then they go to our STEM section, which is the math and sciences woven together. And sometimes, like our field trip to Blue Ocean Society, we get to connect all 4 of those contents into one unified academic exploration, which is cool to see. We're going to Strawberry Bank next month, I think, which is just absolutely an amazing place. I'm really stoked about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have to give Maddie, Jack Riley, Heather Noon, and Eileen Burke. Olivia Frosch has also been there. Eric Johnson and Lisa Blanchford. Also, the team has just been phenomenal working together to help these students connect. And the grade level administrator can talk a little bit about their attendance that you're seeing.
They're here. I think you know, Maddie said it beautifully, and Bill also. I mean, the fact of having them in the building is the way that we can actually get them to academic success in any which way, shape, or form, and they're here. I can't always say why they're here, if it's because they are feeling the acceptance in their classrooms or because some of their best friends are sitting next to them or what it might be, but they're here almost every single day, and when they're not here, I'm seeing them on the attendance list. Parents are answering phone calls or responding to emails and getting back to me almost immediately and saying they absolutely are loving the classes. They're actually bummed that they're sick right now and they'll be back as soon as possible. We have received nothing but positive response from parents so far. The students want to be here. They love to be here. So far I've heard nothing but positive things from parents. So it's been really exciting to hear and be a part of.
Amy, where do you see this program going? Right now we've got 22. Where do you see us in the next 5 years with this program?
I don't want to anticipate anything beyond right now what we're seeing. I mean, I would love to be able to see it like go in different directions. I'd love to be able to see what we're using for like American studies to be able to move into the humanities and STEM areas, just to be able to see more academic areas be able to meld together. It just blows my mind away every single time I see teachers being able to collaborate. So that to me is just fun. being able to go on the field trips and then have them come back, or even prior to that, having them like psych the kids up, having those learning experiences, and then coming back and then making those connections again. It's really been phenomenal. I love it.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? Tamara?
Just 2 quick questions. Have you identified any challenges that the board could help get ahead of, or administration get ahead of, before they dilute any progress?
With any new project or new exploration, there's definitely growing challenges throughout the way. Right now, I think we'll get back to you. I think, and we're still trying to figure out the best solution for the challenges we're seeing. No good work goes totally unpunished, so we're working through some challenges. But I think once we know the best solutions for both this year's cohort, the teachers this year, and the program in general, we appreciate that, and we will definitely take you up on it.
And just one other question. Whenever I hear STEM, in the back of my mind, I always say, well, what about STEAM? What about STEAM?
I'm the person who will go to STEAM all the time.
Okay.
So I have 100% worked that in.
Okay.
I'm actually in charge of art and music on top of science. So anytime that I can work in the art with that piece, there's no issues with me. And our art teachers have actually already had a connection with the science and technology
Sure.
piece out there. So they're on board 100%
Often
of the time.
it's just an incredible pathway to STEM.
Absolutely.
I found, so thank you.
We can change the name. We can call it STEAM. We're steaming ahead.
We'll have the students work on that.
The name's still changing.
And my other question is just, moving forward, we have a way, I'm sure, that you're gonna be seeing how this group plays out in the next 4 years here, so that we can come back and use that. We've got some rubric, right, available that you
So
you have it.
Yeah, we're collecting a lot of data, qualitative and quantitative. Got a great team here in terms of daily data, daily information. We have reached out, I just emailed Dr. Hobbs today, but I know he's out sick, about getting 8th grade information so we can actually even just see how these students now are doing. We'll continue to build the metrics as we go and kind of see what's working and where we need to keep changing.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. It's a great program, so appreciate it. Any other questions? Meredith, you want to?
Briefly, well,
add?
just because I did have the opportunity to go on the field trip last week, but I also want to credit the teachers who I know have spent a lot of time planning collaboratively and kind of going above and beyond to get this up and running. It's not easy to integrate what you're doing with another teacher and try to make those things line up, especially when you have a group of students with a diverse range of needs, right, coming into your classroom every day. So credit to the teachers and credit to the students for I think speaking up about what their needs are and participating and jumping in kind of with their whole selves to this work. And that's the reason this program was built, because we knew we needed to meet these whole students who were coming to us, and our teachers and administrators are doing a great job. Even though sometimes they're really tired at the end of the day.
No, not at all.
We do hope in the future to have some of the kids come with us.
That'd be great.
This was kind of planned last minute, so but
Yeah.
coming months we'll have them.
Also, it's really hard to get any freshmen to come in the first 4 weeks. But yeah, we're working on it.
No, that'll be, even at the end of the year, so they could share their experiences. Maybe plan that, in May at the end, and see how it's played out for them. That'd be great.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for your work. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So at this point, if the board would allow me to, I would like to, before we get to the minutes and the reports, under continuing business, the naming of the auditorium, would it be okay if I move that up? Anybody have any objections?
No objection.
No, the only issue is we have to resolve the policy, right?
Right, we're gonna do it before the policies is what we were gonna do, is
Well,
name
the
it first.
policy for naming the buildings is in the second read and finalizing, and right now it's got a blank, right? I'm not trying to be a stickler, I just don't know if that has to be addressed first.
That's the prerogative of the board. I mean, the board can proceed with naming. You're not violating any current policy by moving
Okay.
forward with the naming, and the board can always, even if you were, the board could always choose to waive a policy. But I think, based on the discussion at your last meeting, I think your actions will be consistent with the policy you're adopting, and if the board wants to proceed, you are able to do so.
That's fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Were you here? Were you here last meeting?
Yeah.
You were, okay, all right. Okay, because there was a discussion.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the
Right.
one, there's like a blank in the policy
Yeah.
that has to be
Yeah.
filled in, so,
Okay.
yeah, I was here, I'm aware.
All right.
Okay, so the naming of the auditorium, as we discussed last month, and it had been in discussion before, even with Henry, for his lifelong dedication to the betterment of others, and as a longtime Winnacunnet moderator and a graduate of Winnacunnet High School, I am privileged to make a motion to rename the auditorium the Robert Reynolds Cushing Jr. Auditorium. Any,
Second.
any discussion? Just this part. Make a motion to rename the Winnacunnet Auditorium to the Robert Reynolds. Which one?
Yep, you're on it.
Yeah. Reynolds Cushing Jr. We're gonna put Rennie in there somewhere on the plaque. Auditorium.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is with the support of the town has written us letters asking for us, that they were supportive of it. I know the chamber has been supportive of it. Rotary's been, everybody in the town seems to be supportive of it. I have talked to the family, Kevin is here, and I just feel that it's something that we can honor him with.
Did you get the second from Tricia?
No. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I'll mark it unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I did work right. Okay, so now we're going to minutes. So, we have a motion for the minutes of March 16th. Do you want to do all the minutes at once? Or do you want to go in one by one? It's up to you guys.
I
Let's-
was not present.
You weren't here, so okay. Yeah, let's do March 16th.
I was present but couldn't participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, right, that was the March.
No, the 16th said Henry was here.
Yeah.
Right, because nobody had.
Yeah,
can't
the
vote.
recount.
Yeah.
I just have to recuse.
Yep.
Right.
So it's,
So
it
I'll
would
make
just.
a motion to approve the minutes from the March 16th regular board meeting.
Okay, and I'll second that.
All those in favor? Or discussion? Sorry. All those in favor? Aye.
Then the other two we could do as one, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 17th board retreat and regular meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
You give me one moment so I can do the next one.
Absolutely.
And I'm just gonna double check that you were all present.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll mark that unanimous. They're both
Okay.
recorded.
Got it. All set? For the, looking at the time, the reports are all here in our packets, and if anybody has any questions on them, we can do it now or get back to them afterwards. If that's all right, we've got them there, so I'd like to go to continuing business, to the policies and the second read and adoption.
So you have a significant number of policies. These were originally from the June board meeting, and these were your first read back in August. So there are 60 policies before you, 38 for review and 22 for withdrawal. Nicole, you mentioned policy FF. There had been a blank there, and that was filled in to say, scroll to the right page, under C4, it just says that the board shall consider the amount of time that's elapsed from the passing of the person to be honored. And in item D, it says the board shall consider the amount of time that's elapsed from the date of completion of service for the person to be honored. So rather than put in a hard and fast number, it seemed like that was reasonable, just that that was taken into consideration. But I've not received any comments or feedback on the policies since our last meeting.
Does anybody have any other?
I just have a general question, and I'm sorry, I'm just struggling with the volume. I'm struggling as a former policy maker, the withdrawal of so many, without a bigger discussion. Not that I'm advocating for that, mind you, but I'm wondering if maybe just to put my conscience at ease, maybe I could just get a little bit of, maybe some crib notes on the process for withdrawing policies. The notation that the policy is not part of the New Hampshire School Boards Association concerns me, because we are an independent, very independent, and unique cooperative that, without sort of looking at them, I'm sort of my own worst enemy when it comes to these things. Just help me understand, help me have faith. I mean, I do, but I need a little more
Sure.
guidance on how the process works.
Sure. So in advance of the policy committee meeting, I work with Rhonda in our office, and we have, you've been kind of systematically working your way through the policy manual. Initially doing all of the required by law policies, then onto the recommended policies, kind of section by section. So we're working our way through that process. There are some policies, like in this section recommended for withdrawal, school superintendent duties, appointment of superintendent, superintendent contract, superintendent's development opportunities, that really aren't applicable at each individual district, because I'm overseen by the joint board. So those policies are part of the joint board policy manual rather than individual district policy manuals, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And I would love just a little note like that.
Sure.
That would really help.
That's what we do in the policy committee, though. We all sit and go through each one, and we talk with Meredith about why each one is being withdrawn or what the changes are.
Okay.
Like last time we met, we sent back, I don't know, like 5 or 6
Right.
that we felt needed more review or weren't relevant, or I don't remember
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so the committee does do that as part of the
I would
exercises to
assume,
go
yeah,
through each
yeah,
piece.
yeah.
There are some that are withdrawn that have been replaced by more current policy, right?
Yeah,
that they were
that's noted as such, yeah.
duplicative. Some were just considered optional policies that maybe are already covered in law. It's just kind of redundant and not something that the committee felt necessary to keep on the books. But I'm always happy to sit down, with a board member and answer any of those questions, or the policy committee is meeting again soon, so you're welcome to join in. Just let us know.
Yeah,
so we
and
don't wind up with a quorum.
again, I'm not
She
looking
knows
to
all of
undermine.
them.
Isn't it amazing?
Every single one,
Right?
and has a very clear reason for every single thing.
I just, I'm conscious of us having local control
Absolutely.
and being able to hang on to a policy if we feel it's important, even if, our good friends at the New Hampshire School Board Association have never heard of it.
Right.
It might be very applicable to us, so.
And that has been the case. There
Yeah.
are policies that, are considered optional. The School Board Association doesn't require that. The policy committee has said we'd like to hold on to that locally because we feel that's important, or it's important to us for this reason.
Okay.
And there are sometimes policies developed based on local issues and history.
Right.
And you try to look at what's the history of this policy been, when was it enacted, when's the last time someone remembers dealing with an issue that this policy pertains to.
I'm grateful you're going through them. I'm just, you know,
I know it. I
I
appreciate
tend
the
to try to do
question.
my homework on these things, and it's just been,
So I will say,
it's
the,
impossible.
the volume was intentionally high in June and August because
Okay,
we were trying to
Right.
kind of catch up on some pieces. It will slow down because our next policy meeting will be really the review of new policy or policy updates required by legislation from the last session. And then we're going to be kind of pacing ourselves as we step into really the last major sections of your policy manual, which are the instructional policies and the student policies. So those are going to be kind of spread out. But I think you were behind. I mean, we're looking at policies that hadn't been reviewed in some cases since the late
2004.
90s or
yeah,
2004.
yeah,
So
which is completely
the
understandable.
committee was working hard to make its way through these. We had a lengthy meeting in August and in June.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Could I have a motion to approve the adoption and withdrawal of the 60 policies?
I'll make a motion to approve the adoption withdrawal of the 60 policies.
A second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? That's the word.
I'll mark it unanimous.
Thank you. Superintendent's reopening plan,
No changes required.
so we don't need to do a motion to accept it. We
You
just,
do not. We did
Great.
that in August.
great, we're good. The NEASC update.
I will be very quick. In my report, I did give you a timeline of what we've gone through and what the next steps are. And again, we do have a school growth improvement plan that's due November 1st, so we're in the process of developing that. I do know that Dr. David Hobbs talks about the Portrait of the Learner forum that's happening in October. That's also part of that whole part of NEAS that we need to go through as far as what is the vision of the graduates of Winnacunnet High School graduates as they leave Winnacunnet High School, and how can that be tied together K through 12. So that's part of what we're doing. So, you know, it also ties to the superintendent's focus areas as far as goals for this year. So we'll just package that all together and keep everything aligned to what we're doing at Winnacunnet High School. Working K through 12 and along with the SAU 21 and SAU 90.
Great, thank you. And the accessibility study committee?
Things are moving along well. We have put together a group of community volunteers interested in serving. Every person I called, with the exception of one, was able to join the committee. We plan to meet either next Monday or the following Monday, depending on weather, basically. And our focus will just be to gather feedback and interest, and then from there, we one of the members of the community will join me in a more formal committee. I've been working with Matt, Principal McGowan, and we plan to add folks from the athletic department, teachers, EA, and any applicable staff before moving any further formally. But everybody I called was excited to participate, including community members, parents, former students. 2 former students are interested, a former selectman, and budget committee member. So I think we've got a good cross-section of folks.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
New business. We need the acceptance of the Hampton Academy trustees. Could I get a motion on that?
I'll move to accept the donation of $12,540 from the Hampton Academy trustees for equipment for the family and consumer science program. Lamppost banners, iPads, and furniture for the freshman academy.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Any discussion?
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a
all those in
wow.
favor? And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I just want to note, and again, I always put the name backwards, but I did make sure I do have the correct name for the banners they're putting outside. So it's the trustees of Hampton Academy and High School, and they have been supporting us for many years now, since 1940. So I'm sure the number is now approaching close to $1 million that they have provided both Hampton Academy and Winnacunnet High School. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Great. Let's take some more money. Acceptance of the gift from the soccer boosters. This is for, you wanna do it, Bill?
Well, there's two soccer boosters are supporting both the girls soccer team and the boys soccer team, and that's for team jackets for both teams. For the girls, the amount is $3,273.89, and for the boys, it's $3,059.70. I do not know why the difference is, but it could just be the number of jackets. But thank you to the soccer boosters for doing that.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
You want each one separately?
Sure, go ahead.
Motion to accept the donation of 30 Nike jackets valued at $3,059.70 from the Winnacunnet soccer boosters for the boys soccer team.
Second?
I'll second.
Second, all right. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Great.
And then,
Second one.
oh, actually, you got the
Yep,
other
we
soccer
gotta
one.
do the second one. Go ahead.
Oh, yes,
Yep.
motion to accept the donation of 30 Nike jackets valued at $3273.89 from the Winnacunnet soccer boosters for the girls soccer team.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Next one.
And the next donation is from John Bailey, and that's in the amount of $500. And that is for a Students in Need funds account that we have, and that was in discussion that Mr. Bailey has had with Tally Westerberg and the guidance office around food insecurity and the federal lunch program. So
Great.
we can provide funding, if there's students in need for food, we always have that funding to provide.
That's awesome. Thank you. I have a motion?
I'll motion to accept a donation of $500 from John Bailey for students in need around food insecurity and the federal lunch program.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion other than thank you? All those in
Oh.
favor? Great, thank you. Policies, we have first read, another short list to go through.
You are correct. No motion required this evening. Again, the policy committee reviewed these at their August meeting. These policies pertain largely to section entitled support services, so those relate to things like transportation, food service, and then you have a good number of personnel policies that are included in this review. And many are just reviews, and the changes are all highlighted for you.
Great, thank you.
The only one I wanted to bring up specifically to the board was the policy around transportation. It says district will make available to students who live at least 2 miles from the assigned school. And I know right now we do it for people, I think, who are less than 2 miles. So I didn't know if people want to leave it saying 2 miles or if there's any discussion or concern about that. I think my understanding was in the future we could, if we needed to, we could cut back transportation to 2 miles, right? Am I
Yeah, the
like
law
right now
allows.
we provide it willingly or.
Yeah, high school transportation is technically not required in the state of New Hampshire. However, because we're a cooperative regional district, it makes, and most of our students, or half of our students anyway, are not eligible to drive, and those who are don't necessarily have access to parking places. So, much of New Hampshire routinely provides transportation for high school students, and I don't think there's any suggestion coming forward to reduce that. But there are times when districts, they say, oh, we're only gonna drive within a certain mile radius, and 2 miles has been a standard in some communities. But again, no move on our part to change transportation services.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Nicole. Award of bid for audit services. Matt?
Thank you. So the bid process has concluded for the SAU's audit services contract. The audit services bid was a cooperative bid process, so we consolidated Winnacunnet, Seabrook, the SAU, Southampton, Northampton, and Hampton Falls into a single bid process. And that's really to achieve quantity of scale and get the best possible pricing. So bids were sent directly to 5 vendors, and 1 vendor submitted a bid, and that was Plodzik and Sanderson. I will note that Plodzik and Sanderson is our current audit firm, who had previously won the bid 5 years ago. So we are recommending award of bid to Plodzik and Sanderson in the amount of $54,750. This is for a 5-year contract. It will be, the first year will be budgeted in the 2023-2024 budget, which we're going through that process. We will be going through that process shortly with the board. And then the remaining 4 years will be budgeted accordingly in those operating budgets.
Okay, great, thank you. Motion?
Motion, I move that we, award the bid for, auditing services to Plodzik and Sanderson in the total amount of $54,750 for a 5-year audit services contract.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. And the delegation assembly.
Yes, so the School Board Association Delegate Assembly is coming up on Saturday, October 1st. I believe Tamara is your representative.
Actually,
me.
I will.
Oh, you
She
are?
can't go,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm unable to attend.
All right,
so it's me.
so it's you.
Out of the state for the weekend.
Um,
Thank you, Leslie.
No problem.
So we've included the proposed resolutions, and typically we include them at this meeting prior to the assembly in case the board has any specific instruction to provide to your delegate, and otherwise the delegate is charged with voting what they believe represents their board and community.
So if you guys have anything that you, after you read through this, if you've got issues, let me know. How's that? Because it's October 1st, all right? Okay.
Can I chat with you afterward? Can I chat
Sure.
with you afterward?
So now we're on to any further public comment? All right, then we are,
One last item before
what are we doing?
non-public. Substitute teacher and EA rate of pay.
Oh, there we go, sorry.
So we have identified the retention and hiring of substitute teachers as a priority for this school year. It is for a number of years finding quality substitute teachers and educational associates has been a challenge, and it has only been exacerbated due to the pandemic and the current labor market, particularly when retail and hospitality jobs are paying in excess of $20 per hour and are readily available. So in an effort to attract more substitutes, we did remove the job requirement of 2 years of college, so it has been adjusted to a high school diploma. Additionally, we are recommending that the board approve adjusting the rate of pay from $90 per day to $110 per day, effective Monday, September 26th of this year. And that aligns better with some of our area comparable SAUs, such as Exeter, SAU 16, Hampton, and SAU 90, Portsmouth, Oyster River, etc., in an effort to be more competitive. So that's just over $15 per hour when you calculate the hourly rate. So we are asking for that adjustment.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Matt?
I actually, Matt, on the agenda, it says that we will be talking about substitute pay and EA, and in the memo, it just talks about substitutes. Are we entertaining?
The memo, I I only wrote teacher, but it's for teachers and educational associate.
Can we make sure that that is
So the
added?
motion includes both.
The motion does, okay,
And that is the intent, is for both substitute teachers and substitute EAs.
okay, all right, okay. I have some concerns. If I may, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if maybe we need to split it, possibly into two different, motions, or possibly come to some sort of compromise. I'm very concerned about the, lack of any sort of, college, preparation in terms of, our teachers. And I understand that we are in a pickle, all too well. And, I don't know if we have a separate higher rate of pay for somebody who may present with certain college, credentials versus somebody who does not. I know particularly, with educational associates, often it requires a certain, understanding of differential learning or special education, situations. And, I am just kind of leery on that part. I'm not sure I could get behind that unless I understand what the qualifications might be of somebody who has a high school diploma. I mean, if they've got their own business and they wanna come in and teach kids business, that's great. But if we're talking about somebody maybe who has not had those life experiences,
So I'm sorry.
I'm wondering, what that might do, as far as the expertise of the faculty that we have and the demands, how they might receive that. I don't know, again, I'm having maybe it's a day of inner conflict.
So there's a few things there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So first of all, this does not preclude the hiring process. So Bill will interview all these candidates and determine whether the potential substitute teacher is adequately qualified to substitute teach. That is something in place. We are also looking at the proper substitute training necessary to ramp them up, to get them into place. Now, I will note that typically these substitutes, positions are it's not equivalent to teaching a course. They are covering for a very short period of time. For our long-term substitutes, we do require teacher certification, and they have that's a different process and different qualification. So this is purely just coverage on a day-to-day basis. It is pretty standard across New Hampshire, that a high school diploma is the minimum requirement, and that's minimum. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily getting hired. Like I said, we will go through the hiring process. I know I substitute taught through my 4 years of college, and it was a wonderful experience. I will also note, I just referenced myself substitute teaching. We will not be hiring college-age kids to substitute teach here at Winnacunnet. That would be a K-8 substitute situation. Right off the bat, that doesn't even factor in here at Winnacunnet, because we all know that is not a recipe for a successful situation. That's a early education substitute situation. I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I think you highlighted the points I would have made, right, which is really it's about that interview process and the administrator exercising their judgment to determine if someone is ready and prepared and qualified to support a classroom, the training that's in place, and then the supervision. Our high school administrators are able to kind of get into those classrooms, check in, get feedback from the teacher when they return the following day. as well to sort of monitor, hey, did they carry out the lessons we're hoping that they carried out? I understand your concern about, how do teachers respond to, someone, maybe coming in to carry out their lessons who doesn't have a college degree. I think on the flip side of that is currently, staff have been very overloaded by the fact that we've not been able to.
I'm not saying
obtain
college
subs.
degree. I mean, this is waiving any college,
Right.
the 2-year.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lift for me.
I understand.
And and let's be realistic, and when we're looking to hire someone at $15 an hour, asking them to also have, college experience, it's difficult to
Absolutely.
reconcile,
I,
right?
which I also have trouble with, given the demands of the job, given the quality of education that we pride ourselves here. Is this something that would be temporary? Would it be for just this fiscal year?
Until we chose to bring back a requirement to rescind it, I think, but, certainly it's something we'd be monitoring and reviewing. The economy is challenging. I think we are going to continue to struggle to hire substitute teachers at $15 an hour in this economy and given the job market in New Hampshire. But, at this point, we feel that it's warranted given that review would be in place. And a lot of the people that we have as applicants for substitute teaching are sometimes retirees who, maybe have worked in a professional career for a long time but didn't have the opportunity to go to college when they were younger.
Right.
And, they can be a real asset to our classrooms and students.
Absolutely. Does this beg the question that $15 is enough? Right? Do we go to 17 or 19?
I think 110 is like 18, right? Is it
Well, it's
No.
about 7 hours. So.
Oh, 7 hours. Okay, I did it 6.
I would be in favor of more money for
15.
more qualifications.
Yeah, and that raises other issues. So our educational associates, who are on a CBA,
Right.
are their starting salary on their salary schedule is just about $15 an hour. So
We can't be paying more to a sub than we can to
right.
our-
Well, if you've got a time limit on it, if you've got a date,
I
right?
don't think that would go over well with.
No, I don't
our-
think so either.
So I
I didn't know
would
what
not,
their-
I
I
would
didn't know
not
what
wanna
they
go
were
that
gonna
route,
pay.
to be perfectly honest with you, I would not wanna go that route.
And that highlights the importance of the CESPA CBA that will be going to ballot, not this year, but next year,
Yeah.
to provide competitive wages for that bargaining unit, because those educational associates are incredibly important for not only our special education students, but also to assist in the classroom in regular education classes. And it is a problem from a competitive retention and hiring perspective, and
I
just
understand.
very it's just unconscionable that what we pay them. So we struggle with CBAs in SAU 21
I know.
because we a CBA needs to pass in all 5 of our districts.
Hence the uniqueness of our,
Right.
Of
So,
a
and
district,
if
yeah.
it fails in any one district, it fails across the board. Now, when it fails, the employee gets no step and no cost of living adjustment. That applies to teachers, and I'm taking not to take us off topic, but one area that I mentioned that I neglected to mention during the financial review was we are opening bargaining with our teachers union right now, and there will be hopefully an agreement that will go to the ballot this March for our teachers contracts, and that it's extremely important that we provide competitive compensation for our teachers in our geographic area where it's very competitive with Exeter, Portsmouth, Oyster River, Hampton, and it's devastating if we cannot pass a contract because it further widens that gap with wages. We're already a little lower than some of those area schools, and they do not receive a step or COLA, and it really can hurt
Sure.
hurt us in hiring.
Okay,
So
thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And at this time, could I entertain a motion? I will entertain a motion, put it that way. If anyone wants to put one forward.
So I just have a question on the motion. It says motion to approve adjusting the rate of pay, but we're also adjusting the.
we have adjusted the requirement. We're not asking the board
Oh,
for
okay.
approval for that.
Okay,
We're asking for the pay rate increase. So,
I'll make a motion to approve adjusting the substitute teacher educational associate rate of pay to $110 per day, effective September 26th.
Hear a second? Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Did you get that?
Motion passed.
All right, thank you. And we are into non-public. Do you want to go through the dates or just forget it?
Sure. So we have a list of future meetings on the agenda. I will just note that not on here, but included in a couple of reports is the October 4th Portrait of a Learner session for the community. I know a mailing went out to folks. That's from 5:30 to 7:30 here at Winnacunnet, and there will be pizza. And if you RSVP, there you'll be entered into the drawing for some door prizes, some fabulous door prizes, I might add. Then October 5th is the SAU Operations Committee. SAU 21 Joint Board Policy Committee meeting is October 17th. The Joint Board meeting is October 18th. And then, because you wanted 3 nights in a row, the Winnacunnet School Board meeting is October 19th.
We love our school.
My calendar's so full that week.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so at this time I need a motion for non-public.
Motion for a roll call to enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3 to B and C at 7:51 p.m.
Roll call.
Do you have a second?
Oh, do we have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tricia. I'm gonna do a roll call. So Leslie LaFont,
Yes.
Nicole Seco,
Yes.
Tamara Lee,
Yes.
and Tricia O'Keefe.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it. And we will be going into non-public in 2 minutes.